Hey, this is Avish Parashar, and I'm going to play a little improv game that I made up called Motivational Speaker, where I'm going to improvise a motivational speech for you that's going to go for about 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to be made up completely on the spot. All I need to begin this is a three-letter word that's going to be the brand and theme of this speech. Because this is virtual, I'm going to come up with that idea with a random word generator. I'm going to click the button and see what word pops up. Tap, T-A-P. So here we go. And I'm going to pop up to do this. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for my talk on the power of tap. Yes, now it's not exactly what you think. Yes, I am a tap dancer, and I've been doing it my whole life, and that's where a lot of this came from. But it's not just tap dancing. We're going to be talking about tapping into your potential. We're going to be talking about tapping into this world and the wisdom that the entire world has. And we're going to be talking about tapping other people for help, tapping yourself to relieve pressure, right? All sorts of tapping. Now, before I get into how you can apply the principles of tap, I want to share with you just a quick little background about me and kind of what I'm all about. You see, as you know, I'm here because I am a tap dancer, and I'm an amazing tap dancer, one of the best in the world. But I wasn't always that way. In fact, when I grew up, it's like I had two left feet. I could do nothing graceful. I was horrible at dancing, absolutely. Kids used to make fun of me, and this is at an age where kids didn't really dance much, but I danced so bad they made fun of me. But anything athletic, anything involving grace, even just walking down the hall, I would trip and fall. So much so that all I did was I sat and I read and I studied. Now that led me to college and getting a degree, but there was always something inside of me bursting to get out. And then somewhere in my mid-20s, I had a breakthrough. I had a revelation, and I developed a formula that helped me succeed to overcome those limitations from my youth and become the world's greatest tap dancer. And I'm going to share that with you today, what that formula is. And this talk is not just about tap dancing, but rather the word TAP. That's an acronym that goes through the tap formula that's going to help you break through your limitations and do all the things you want to do. So the TAP stands for three words. T stands for temperature, right? We'll talk about how temperature relates to you breaking through your limitations. And then we'll get to A, which is asp. Yes, asp like the snake. And then the P stands for perfunctory. You know, perfunctory is a word, and I'm not even exactly sure what that means, but I've adopted that word into my own personal meaning. And when you combine the power of temperature, asp, and perfunctory, everything becomes more effective. So let's go. First principle of the TAP is temperature. Now, it's as a tap dancer, when I first started getting into tap, you realize you got to warm up. You got to warm up your body. And what warming up your body does is it increases your core temperature to a point where your muscles are more ready to go and you're less likely to injure yourself. And what I realized is with my ineptitude and my lack of grace, a lot of that was because I was just, not warmed up. My muscles weren't ready. Now, this can be applied in many areas of life, not just physically with tap dancing, but number one, you got to take your temperature, not your temperature, right? Not your forehead, behind the ear, in the butt temperature. You got to take temperature of your life. Where are you? Are you okay? Are you warm enough? Are you warmed up? Are you ready to go? And if not, then you got to warm up first. Let me share a little quick story from my experience, right? As I said, I was always ungraceful, and then I had an epiphany in my mid-20s. Well, that epiphany came one day when I was lying there, unmotivated, unhappy, and I said, you know what? There's something inside of you. You always wanted to go dance, so go dance. And that little voice in my head saying, yes, but you can't do that. Yeah, but you're not graceful. And then I stopped. For the first time in my life, instead of giving that voice, I took my temperature. Again, not with a thermometer, but with my mind. I took the temperature of my body and said, you know what? You are not in the right temperature for this. So I warmed up my mind. Instead of just giving into that voice that says, no, you can't tap. Bob Fosse. He's a tap dancer, right? He said, you can't do that. Gregory Hines. I said, you know what? Let's warm ourselves up. So I didn't just jump right into tap dancing. I stood up, and I took a toe, and I took a toe. And that was it. And I took a little bit more, another toe, another toe. And eventually, my body got warm, but my mind got warm to the point where I was ready to go out the door and go to that first tap class. Now, you can do this too, right? You're going to have doubts. You're going to have yes buts in your mind. What I want you to do is don't try to take them head on. Take a temperature. Where am I temperature-wise in my body and my motivation? warm up your motivation and your energy before you try to smash through that yes, but that will stop you from failing like you have so many times in the past. Okay? So that's the T. The A stands for asp. Now, you might be wondering, what does a poisonous snake have to do with anything really? Well, let me recount a story here. So back in my early days, when I was first starting to break through, my tap skills were growing. I was getting much better, and I was starting to tour. And I went with a touring company to dance, and we went to Egypt. And I met this beautiful woman there, and we had a very fast and furious love affair. And she brought me back to her house, and then she went bonkers. She's like, "I want you to have the full Egyptian experience." I'm like, "What is that?" She's like, "I want you to feel like Cleopatra feels." And she threw an asp, a real poisonous snake, at me. And I jumped up, and I'm like, "What, are you kidding? This is a joke, right?" She says, "Oh no, that is a poisonous snake. And if it bites you, you will die. You wanted the Cleopatra experience, right?" I said, "No, I just wanted to go see some pyramids and learn about the culture." She said, "I'm sick of you and tourists like you, and especially tap dancing tourists. Tap dancing tourists are the worst." What tap dancing tourists? How many tap dancing tourists have you dated? "I've dated them all, and they're all like you. Most of them have died in this test, but maybe you'll survive." And then she left and closed the door. So I'm stuck, locked in a room with a poisonous snake. And I'm thinking, this is insane. But then, first I took my temperature. I said, "Listen, you can't just fight the snake head on. You got to warm up." So I started thinking, what can I do? And my body started moving. And then I realized, got to use the power of tap. I still have my tap shoes on. I wore my tap shoes 24/7, and tap have that metal. So instead of trying to run away from the snake or hide or throw things at it, I just started tapping at the snake. I tap, 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 tap. Go shift, ball point shift, right? And eventually I started kicking the snake, and I kicked the snake, knocked him away. He got afraid and ran away, and I was able to get out of there. Never met that woman again. I called the police. They laughed at me. They said, "Oh yeah, that's the tap dancing murderer asp woman. She's a known quantity. She's actually in the guidebook. So it's crazy." Anyways, this isn't about her. I'm going to find her someday and make her pay for that. But what this is about is what I learned in that crazy experience. Because the asp represented my fear, right? I had been so afraid of my tap dancing skills all my life. I'd been so ungraceful. I can't tap dance. And at that point, I still had doubts. And there, what I did was, instead of giving into those doubts, I tapped deep into, went to that place, found what was true to my soul, and used that to my advantage. I used what I previously thought was a limitation to my advantage. All right, so that's number one. That's how you can use an asp. What's your limitation, right? Are you afraid of snakes? Maybe you can use that. Do you not think you can tap dance? Maybe you can use that. Whatever you do, just tap dance, right? You got to tap that limitation and then find a way to use it to your advantage. That's how we're going to achieve our goals, right? That's how you're going to break through your limitation. The second thing is, this woman was crazy. You don't need to fully immerse to learn something. I didn't need the full Cleopatra experience where a poisonous asp came out and attacked me, right? I could have read a book. I could have watched a movie. I could have gone to a museum. And you're the same way. You've got this thing. You're holding yourself back because it seems so complicated. You don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to recreate the entire experience you're thinking about. Just take a step, try a little bit, and see what happens, and grow from there. So that's the A. That's the asp. So we have temperature and asp. 3 is perfunctory. Now, I'm not an articulate, as you can tell, man. I'm a speaker now, but not an articulate man. So, I came across this word perfunctory, and I'm not even sure. It was one of the other dancers. He thought he was smarter than he was, and he said perfunctory, it means being really short, almost to a point where you're so short, it's like rude. It's like you cut people off. And he was saying it like a negative. But as I thought about it, I'm like, perfunctory, huh? I need to be more perfunctory. Because in my life, I would let people walk all over me because they would just kind of take my time, and I'd say yes, and they'd babble on. I wouldn't cut them off. And so I started cutting people off. And then I realized that my tap dancing needed to be more perfunctory, right? I needed to cut my tap dancing, right? I needed shorter little taps would make me tap faster versus long, lugubrious taps, which would slow me down. So I made everything in my life more perfunctory. Now, it came across as rude, but here's the thing. I was never perfunctory with the things that mattered. My tap moves got shorter, but my tap practice got longer. I cut people off who were wasting my time, but they gave me more time to be less perfunctory with the people I really cared about. So that's what perfunctory is really all about. It's about prioritizing, right? Where are you being perfunctory in your life? Probably the wrong places. In fact, you're probably so unperfunctory in some areas of your life that you end up becoming perfunctory in the areas that matter. You got to flip that script, right? You got to flip that script. Start being perfunctory with the things that are not your big goals, your big dreams, and the things that matter, so you can be less perfunctory with the things that do. And when you start doing those three things, when you take a temperature and warm up your soul and your motivation, when you treat that asp, your fear and your limitation, and start using that to your advantage, and when you start being perfunctory with the things that don't matter so you can have more time for the things that do, that's how you're going to break through your limitations and be the best in the world at whatever it is you want to be. It worked for me, and I know it can work for you. And if I could leave you with one final thought about the power of tap, it is this. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. That is taps, and that's what they play at the end of the day. Don't let yourself die before your tap comes out of you. All right, there you go. That was a motivational speech, completely improvised around the word tap.